Hello again, John Wild, here to give you another look at vintage action figures, and this time we're going to be looking at Welcome Back Kotter from Mattel Toys in 1976. To promote the ABC television series, Mattel Toys produced 5 action figures, 1 playset, and a vehicle for Welcome Back Kotter. Welcome Back Kotter ran for 4 seasons from 1975 to 1979. The series is based on the stand-up comedy act of star Gabe Kaplan, recounting experiences from his childhood. The show is about Mr. Kotter, a high school teacher, returning to his alma mater to teach a remedial class. The students are in a neighborhood group, nicknamed the Sweat Hogs, that Mr. Kotter founded in his youth. The toy line from Mattel reused the body molding from the nightmarish Sunshine Family toy line, and the figures feature 5 points of articulation. All of the Welcome Back Kotter figures came with this same body style. Let's get a closer look at this thing. The heads will peg on at the neck. The arms are made of a softer rubber than the body. There really is no articulation in the arms other than they just spin all the way around. The upper legs attach to the body at the pelvis and allow for back and forth motion. There's articulation at the knees, but the feet have absolutely no detail whatsoever and really need to be covered with shoes. On the back of these bodies, we see the brand stamp, copyright 1973, Mattel Incorporated, from Taiwan. The figures are in a 9-inch scale and feature pretty impressive head sculpts for the time. Also, each figure is dressed in a cloth outfit with 1 accessory. All figures were produced on the same card back, with the exception of the name and a word bubble over their head. A playset was produced that included a record with the voices of the actors on it. The rarest piece in the Mattel Welcome Back Kotter toy line is the Sweat Hogs bike. Now, let's take a look at each of these figures individually. Mr. Kotter was portrayed by Gabe Kaplan. Gabe Kaplan is a stand-up comedian and television personality. He has also appeared on ABC's Battle of the Network Star and the World Series of Poker. Gabe Kaplan helped to develop the TV show Welcome Back Kotter. Prior to becoming a TV star, Kaplan was a stand-up comedian. He appeared on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson 5 times. His comedy album, Holes and Mellow Rolls, included routines about his high school days. And this became the basis for the Welcome Back Kotter TV show. The viral catchphrase, "Up your nose with a rubber hose," from the Kotter TV show was actually a sanitized version of the original line from Kaplan's stand-up, "Up your hole with a mellow roll." A mellow roll being kind of like a popsicle, and a hole being, well, you know what the hole is. Kaplan also participated in the ABC's Battle of the Network Stars in 1978 through 1976, where he served as the captain of the team. After Welcome Back Kotter, Kaplan appeared on ESPN's World Series of Poker, occasionally starring as a commentator. He also continues to be a stand-up comedian. Now, let's get a good look at Mr. Kotter, the Mattel toy, on card. Let's begin at the top left-hand corner of the card. It includes one of the sayings from the TV show, "Did I ever tell you about Uncle Max?" The name of the character, Mr. Kotter, also appears on the card. Moving down the card, we get a good look at the head sculpt of Mr. Kotter. I'd have to say it's pretty good. Moving down the figure, we see he's wearing a brown and white sports coat, a white dress shirt, and a green tie. Mr. Kotter is dressed in brown slacks. Mr. Kotter's briefcase is the accessory on the figure, and he's dressed in black shoes. Let's get a good overall look at the figure on card. And now the back of the card. Mr. Kotter, being the teacher or father figure to the Sweat Hogs, was an essential character for the toy line. Overall, I'd have to say this is a really solid figure, with the exception of the Sunshine Family body. Let's get a look at our first Sweat Hog. Epstein, or Juan Epstein, was portrayed by Robert Hedges. A New York City theater actor before his role on Welcome Back Kotter, sadly, Hedges passed away on January 26th of 2012. Interestingly, Hedges is the cousin to rock superstar John Bon Jovi. While appearing in the Kotter TV show, Hedges directed some of the episodes. After Welcome Back, Kotter, Hedges had a supporting role in the TV series Cagney and Lacey and became an acting coach. Epstein's most famous bit on the TV show was where he forged notes signed by Epstein's mother. Let's get a look at the figure, starting with the head sculpt. Another great head sculpt by Mattel. Looks very much like Epstein. Moving down the figure, we see he's dressed in a blue shirt with white button and a jean vest. And you can kind of see a dark stain on the right-hand corner of his shirt. That's where the Sweat Hogs logo would have been. Epstein is dressed in a pair of blue jeans. Those blue jeans are rolled up and distressed at the bottom and are rolled up at the ankles. He's wearing a pair of brown shoes. They look pretty fancy, actually. Now, let's get a good overall look at the figure. And now the back of the figure. The accessory that came with the Epstein figure was a handkerchief, and unfortunately I don't have it. Overall, I'd have to say this is another quality figure. It is a little bit kind of disheartening that over the years the distressed jeans have kind of unraveled even a bit more, but I'm sure I could find a better quality figure out there, or even one on card someday. Let's get a look at our next SWAT hog, Washington. Washington was portrayed by Lawrence Hilton-Jacobs. He was another New York City theater actor turned sitcom star. He appeared on Roots and in later years the TV miniseries The Jacksons, An American Dream as the father of the Jacksons, Joe Jackson. Lawrence Hilton-Jacobs also provided backing vocals on the Rick James album Street Songs. His catchphrases were, "Hi there," and "Hey, Mr. Kotter." Let's get a look at Washington on card. So again, we begin with the top left-hand corner of the card. We see it's labeled Washington, and it has one of his catchphrases, "Let's boogie." Moving down the card, we see the head sculpt for Washington. And I have to say, it's pretty good. It's probably the weakest of all of the head sculpts, but it's still pretty good for the 1970s. We can see on the left the accessory he came packed with, a basketball. Moving down the figure, we see he has on a white t-shirt with the Sweat Hogs logo proudly displayed in the center. He's also wearing a bright yellow sweatshirt with blue and white stripes at the collar, cuffs, and waist. Washington is dressed in a pair of blue jeans. And finally, he's wearing a pair of black sneakers. Let's get a good overall look at this figure on card. And now the back of the card. The Sweat Hogs were a group of ethnically diverse guys, and that was really an interesting concept for the 1970s. These four friends getting along, who really probably shouldn't have gotten along, it makes for a great story. Now, let's get a look at our next Sweat Hog, Barbarino. Vinnie Barbarino was portrayed by legendary actor John Travolta. I previously reviewed this figure in an earlier episode. The standout star of the show, he has gone on to star in feature films such as Saturday Night Fever and Pulp Fiction. John Travolta was a sex symbol in the 1970s, and I'd imagine many more girls own this figure than boys. Barbarino's catchphrases were, "What? Where?" and "I'm so confused." Let's get a look at this figure on card. Beginning again at the top left-hand corner of the card, we see a word bubble that says Barbarino, and his name, Barbarino. Moving down the card, we see the head sculpt of Barbarino. And I'd have to say, again, it's not perfect, but it's a very good representation of John Travolta. Taped just above his head is his accessory, a comb, which doesn't make a lot of sense because he has sculpted hair. Moving down the figure, we see Barbarino is dressed in a yellow t-shirt with the Sweat Hog symbol in the middle of his chest. He also is wearing a brown leather coat. He's dressed in a pair of brown slacks. On his feet, he wears the same pair of black sneakers as many of the Sweat Hogs. Let's get a good look at the figure overall on card. All 5 of the Welcome Back Kotter figures had the same card back. Let's take a chance now and get a good overall look at the card back. So at the top left-hand corner of the card back, we see the Welcome Back Kotter logo, 9-inch action figures. Moving down, we see HORSHACK and Mr. Kotter. Beneath them is a picture of Washington. Opposite Washington, on the lower right-hand corner of the card, is Epstein. And finally, on the upper right-hand corner, we have a picture of Barbarino. There is a card back variation though, and what it is this included limited warranty offered by Mattel Toys. On the bottom of the card, we see the Mattel logo, and it also says, TB's Kotter and his Sweat Hogs. Action figures stand 9 inches tall. They can sit and stand. Posable too. Each wears an authentic costume from the fabulous TV show. Each of Kotter's scholars has distinctive Sweat Hog patches on his jacket or shirt. Each is sold separately. And it's got the legal stuff at the bottom. Mattel Incorporated, 1976, Hawthorne, California, 90250, printed and made in Taiwan. All rights reserved. Now let's get a look at our last Sweat Hog figure, HORSHACK. Arnold Horseshack was portrayed by actor Ron Paleo. Welcome Back Kotter was his first major role. Paleo was a very popular character on the TV show and one of the named characters from Kaplan's stand-up routine. A planned spin-off show was planned for the Horseshack character but never materialized. Ron Paleo became a voice actor on Rubik the Amazing Cube, a Saturday morning cartoon in 1983. In 1986, Paleo appeared on Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Lives, and was the first person killed after Jason Voorhees was reanimated. Sadly, Ron Paleo passed away on August 14th of 2012. Horseshack's catchphrases were "ooh, ooh, ooh" when looking to answer a question in Mr. Kotter's class. Let's get a good look at Horseshack on card. Like before, beginning with the upper left-hand corner of the card, we see the word bubble with his catchphrase, "ooh, ooh, ooh," and the name Horseshack. All of the Welcome Back Kotter figures came on the same card back. We'll get a little bit of a closer look at them this time. So here we are on the upper right-hand corner, and we see it says TB's Kotter and the Sweat Hogs and the Welcome Back Kotter logo. Moving down the card, we see Mr. Kotter, Epstein, and Horseshack. Below them is Barbarino. And at the bottom of the card is Washington with his basketball. So here we see the head sculpt of Arnold Horseshack, and he's wearing a cap, he's got black hair, and I don't know if it really looks like Ron Paleo. I mean, it's a fair representation, not too bad. Moving down the figure, we see Horseshack is wearing a scarf that's in blue and white. He's got on a red sweater underneath a gray jacket, and the Sweat Hogs logo is also on the jacket. Horseshack's scarf is coming out the edges of his jacket. He's wearing a pair of blue and white pants. Completing the figure is black sneakers, like a lot of the Sweat Hogs came with, and his accessory, a lunchbox. Interestingly, behind some of these figures is a limited warranty card that was printed on the card back, but sometimes was just stuffed in with the figure. Let's get a good overall look at the figure on card. And finally, the back of the card. Horseshack the character was probably my favorite growing up. I just enjoyed his kind of smart mouth attitude. Well, all the Sweat Hogs smart mouth attitude, but boy, Horseshack just seemed to resonate with me. Interestingly, all these figures are scaled at 9 inch, and Horseshack definitely wasn't as big as the rest of the Sweat Hogs, so the toy line kind of gets a bad mark for that. Well, let's wrap this up. For Welcome Back Kotter fans, these were very disappointing toys. Lack of articulation and general poor quality didn't probably help the sales of these figures. I'm wondering if this toy line was marketed for girls or boys. I can't see many boys asking for these figures. The reuse of the Sunshine family body shows that Mattel had little investment in this toy line. With all the other choices on the toy shelves at the time, Welcome Back Kotter figures were mostly forgotten and are now an inexpensive set of figures to assemble. I watched Welcome Back Kotter on reruns in the early 1980s and enjoyed the show. Although by then, the grimy New York City schools seemed very 1970s, and the 70s Appreciation Society had yet to appear. But with generic card backs, poor quality figure bodies, and just lack of appreciation, I remember laughing at the TV shows and seeing these figures at garage sales and at my local flea market. But they were mostly seen with Barbie stuff, so I never really got over my fear of ridicule. Now that I have them, I see that the quality is in the head sculpts, but it just isn't enough to consider this toy line a legend of the 1970s. I would like to thank you for watching my video. Please like, share, and subscribe to catch my latest uploads. And until next time, up your nose with a rubber hose.